It is 10:01. Good morning and congratulations. You made it to March Madness. From the 104.5 The Zone Studios, I'm Lucas Panzica. The NCAA tournament round of 64 gets underway today as the first four wrapped up on Wednesday with Mount St. Mary's beating American 83-72. They move on to face one seed Duke tomorrow. Xavier came back to beat Texas 86-80. That's one SEC team down. Xavier will be the 11 seed to take on Ole Miss on Friday. The Madness starts today in 1 hour with 9-seed Creighton and 8-seed Louisville tipping off at 11:15. Later tonight, Tennessee starts its run as a 2-seed against Wofford. That is a 5:50 tip-off from Lexington. You can catch all the action courtesy of Westwood One and the Vol Network right here on The Zone. In NFL news today, the Houston Texans have extended star pass rusher Danielle Hunter 1 year, $35.6 million for the 30-year-old. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It is the best two shows of the year. We've got college basketball all over the place, tipping off in just, an hour and 15, an hour and 12 minutes from now. We are only with you for an hour today, which is delightful for you, probably. You could use a break. It's delightful for us as well because there's basketball all over the place here on The Zone. Westwood One's NCAA tournament coverage begins later this afternoon. Tennessee tips at 5:50 p.m. on the Vol Network. Good morning, boys. Did you bring your brackets? Are you excited? How's morale?
Brackets are here, ready to be busted. I think this is the best two-day stretch on the annual sports calendar. There's nothing else like it. I understand the feeling of football being back is unlike any other. I understand everybody has maybe opening day in baseball. Maybe you're immersed in the baseball going on in Tokyo right now. But for me, in terms of 2 days consecutive, there is nothing like flipping around from True TV to CBS to TBS. Nothing like it.
Be honest, did he plan that? Did you two orchestrate that?
No, I actually messed it up. I think he wanted to start the show with that music, and I forgot to do that.
No, that was a beautiful incident right there.
Okay. A happy accident. That's what March is. A happy accident in the world of college basketball. There will be upsets all over the place. We just don't know where it will start.
That's what my mom used to call me.
A happy accident?
Her happy little accident.
I think you qualify as a happy little accident. I mean, maybe not so little anymore. Happy accident.
I mean, he was 160 sophomore year of high school.
That picture of him in the wrestling singlet that he sent to the group text is one of my favorite pictures of all time. Also, apparently we are supposed to be proud of you for the presentation that you put on in front of Cumulus.
Oh, shucks.
You can hear the sheepish.
That's behind the curtain. That
Yesterday.
stuff doesn't matter.
No. It does matter because you did a good job, and if you're going to act like a suit, it's good to see. I was shocked to learn that you owned both a collared shirt and closed-toed shoes.
And I did not fart once in that meeting.
I was just going to say you also need to be proud of me because Lucas backed me off of making jokes while all of the suits were back there in the studio.
Oh, thank God.
With you. About just 1 day ago, you telling about a 15-minute long story about you pooping yourself in the middle of a wrestling meet. So you went from that one day to shepherding around corporate Cumulus suits, showing them all the wonderful things that we do here on 104.5 The Zone.
And they were thrilled. They were. I was surprised they were excited about everything we were doing. So it was a good meeting for all.
All right.
Good meeting for all.
Very good. So everybody's happy. Where do you want to start? I told, Lucas called me 15 minutes before the show and said, what the F are we talking about? And I said, what do you mean? It's college basketball all day. We can fill out a bracket on air for all I care today.
There was a great game last night. How about Texas just blowing it in the second half. It felt like they never truly separated. They never really created that like 15 to 20 point deficit. They were hovering around that 10 to 12 point lead the whole way. But the Xavier Musketeers powering back, outscoring Texas 47-33 in the second half. And the crowd was phenomenal behind Xavier. That's one SEC team knocked off its pedestal.
You saw the news. Texas is going to let go of Rodney Terry.
Yeah, I figured they would need to at least win a couple games in the tournament for him to keep his job.
That was reported last night by at least the first place that I saw it. I don't know who had it first, but Horns 247. Rodney Terry is the basketball coach, Texas's basketball coach, and it was him who helped kind of try and stabilize the program after the whole Chris Beard situation. If you want to go relitigate the details there, you're welcome to look that up. It's long and convoluted. But he was on a 3-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, or he has 3 years left on his contract.
They kind of tried to recapture some of the Rick Barnes era because Rodney Terry was Rick Barnes' number one assistant for the majority of Barnes' time at Texas. And obviously that program has kind of floundered since Rick Barnes was fired. The Shaka Smart experience was a home run hire at the time. That didn't work. We know how the Chris Beard thing ended. And, I believe Terry was the interim because he returned to Texas to work for Chris Beard as an assistant after being there for almost a decade under Barnes. And then he was elevated from interim to head coach. And, we know how that's ended.
This is the quote from Rodney Terry last night after Xavier beat Texas in the play-in. I've been at Texas 13 years, and there's not a year I haven't made the NCAA tournament or been a part of the NCAA tournament. I have a lot of pride in terms of being a Longhorn. I love being at Texas. I don't think anyone has been a part of Texas basketball that's been more successful than myself.
Wow.
I've been a part of the top 5 seasons in the program's history.
He took him to the Elite Eight 2 years ago.
Nothing. Maybe he knew the writing was on the wall and wanted to just kind of shout himself out on the way out the door. I got no issue with that. I got less issues with that than I do my basketball coach doxing himself yesterday. Did you see that?
No.
West Virginia fans are losing their minds because Darian DeVries, is that how I say it? Is Ross back there? Ross doesn't look. Would we give Ross the day off because we're only working for an hour today?
He's working till midnight tonight. Got to make the newbies earn their keep.
Doing
Sing for your
what?
supper.
Babysitting?
Making sure that the board is taken care of and the games go off the air correctly.
Yeah,
Is this like producer hazing?
Oh, making sure our wonderful audience gets every single second of basketball from Westwood One and the Vol
You
Network.
just made it sound like I'm watching Severance now. I've binged it. It's excellent. Have you two started it?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen season 1. I've been waiting on Dondi and some other things to finish so I can watch that.
I just now have a mental image of you as Miss Cobell lording over the producers and requiring them to stay after hours for a waffle party and some NCAA basketball.
Living next door to them.
This is not a, the swimming pool's in the basement. All the freshmen to the swimming pool. Did you guys have something like that when you were in high school?
In high school? No, I don't think so.
We used to tell kids like, the swim. Oh, you guys have swim today? You're in gym? Yeah, you got to swim. You got to go to the basement for the pool. And kids would be like, "Where's the pool at? Where's the pool?" Looking all over the place for it. We didn't even have a basement. It was a flat school. Like what?
That's excellent. So, anyway, Westwood One coverage all day today, all day tomorrow on the Zone. You'll only have to deal with us for an hour today, but I do want to talk, obviously, about Tennessee's portion of the bracket most of today's show, given that they're going to tip off against Wofford at 5:50. They've got an interesting path, and there's reason to believe that this team, I feel pretty confident in saying that this team can make the Elite Eight. And I feel like most Vols fans probably agree. Now, how they, we had a conversation earlier in the week about expectations for this particular Tennessee team, and it sounds like that's where you set the floor.
No, not necessarily the floor of what they're going to accomplish.
Successful season.
Yes, to walk away from this season thinking of it as a smashing success.
Okay.
To me, it's got to be at least Elite Eight.
But so you would be dissatisfied with this team making the Sweet 16?
I think so. I think this team is better than that. I think this team, again, for you to be able to really remember this season, I think you need to walk away with something. And to walk away with something, to me, means to at least match the best run in an NCAA tournament in Tennessee history. And for Tennessee fans, this program, the fans feel due a Final Four appearance, right? This program has had sustained success, obviously under Rick Barnes and before that with Bruce Pearl. But you've also had to sit back and watch Auburn get one and Alabama get to a Final Four. And there's been great marks of success along the way, SEC regular season titles and SEC tournament championship, ending that drought, getting back to the Elite Eight. But both times Tennessee has been to the Elite Eight, thinking back to that 2010 year against Michigan State, where they came within a hair of knocking off Tom Izzo and Draymond Green and that Michigan State team. And then last year against Purdue, Zach Edey versus Dalton Knecht, the battle that was, tie game in the final minutes, and Purdue just kind of edging them out at the end. Vol fans feel due a Final Four appearance. So obviously, that is the ceiling that you look at for this year, trying to get over that hump. But for it to be truly a season we're going to remember with this team and a way to send out Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Mashak properly, I think it's got to be an Elite Eight appearance minimum.
That's something we can get into. Coming up next, what would it take for the Vols to get back to the Elite Eight? And is there a scenario where we could foresee them making their first Final Four appearance in program history? If you want to get involved, you're welcome to do so. It's the only hour for you to do so. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're hanging out with you before March Madness gets underway here on 1045 The Zone. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped guys for over a decade who have been dealing with erectile dysfunction and feel like hope is lost if the treatments that you've been using start to fade, because lots of men assume that if the pills stop working, they have no other options than irreversible surgery to treat ED. And the sad reality is that if you go to a doctor to treat ED, those may be the only protocols that they have available for you. Please speak to the Tennessee Men's Clinic experts first before you go to extremes like irreversible surgery. The Tennessee Men's Clinic specializes in men's sexual health issues. It's all they do. It makes them the experts in the field, and they have access to multiple protocols and options to treat ED based on your specific needs and what's going on in your body. So don't trust your health to an online pharmacy and don't feel like you're out of options. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is there to serve you with protocols that are patient-centered and customized to your needs. They have treatments for everything from low testosterone, ED treatments that increase size, stamina, and everything else in between. So schedule an appointment online today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for their Franklin or Midtown location, or call them 615-208-9090.
The boys 3A quarterfinal at halftime at the Murphy Center. Good morning, I'm Lucas Panzica as Upperman holds a 24-14 lead over Hume Fogg. The winner will go on to the Final Four and take on the winner between Greenville and Munford, a game tipping off at 11 a.m. Designated drivers are the real MVP. If you've been drinking, pass your keys to a sober friend. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security. And remember to tune in to 104.5 The Zone for all the Hoops Madness coverage, sponsored by Shoney's. Always fresh, always delicious. Let's eat.
Murfreesboro golfers, it's time to say goodbye to pain and hello to a better game with Burrow Chiropractic's revolutionary STEM wave therapy. STEM wave therapy is a non-invasive, cutting-edge treatment designed to help golfers get back on the course pain-free. This advanced therapy uses sound waves to target and repair damaged tissues, providing natural, long-lasting relief. At Burrow Chiropractic, their expert team is dedicated to offering personalized care that caters to each individual's unique needs. STEM wave therapy is perfect for treating chronic pain, inflammation, and even old injuries, allowing golfers to swing with confidence and ease. Plus, Burrow Chiropractic is proud to be the official chiropractic provider for Middle Tennessee athletics, ensuring their athletes stay in peak condition. Golfers can experience the benefits of STEM wave therapy by visiting Burrow Chiropractic today. Call them at 615-410-7643 or check out their website at burrowchirotn.com. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. If you're taking in some March Madness today, if you're having a watch party, if you're just in the mood for hot chicken, Hattie B's, the place to go. Bert did so well in his presentations yesterday that management bought the show Hattie B's for lunch. Congratulations to all involved. We are once again the beneficiaries of Bert's hard work.
Management bought Lucas and I lunch today. I don't know where you're eating at.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you had to do with it.
I exist. That's all that I need to have to do with it.
So you're saying thanks to your gravitational pull,
That's right.
we were purchased lunch.
Correct.
I also did nothing. I want to make that clear.
We were very scared at what point you were going to bring the suits into the studio because we were, talking about the Michigan baseball player acting like he was ripping lines in celebration on third base. And that would probably not be the best time for our corporate overlords to walk in and listen in on what it is that we do for 3 hours a day.
Isn't it funny that we're like, the suits are here, we gotta act right, but like technically they could listen like at any time.
That's
they
right.
could have heard my poop story, they could have heard your cocaine story, they could have heard any of this.
I don't have a cocaine story.
I just wanted to say it like that so we could clip it and make you sound terrible.
So basketball gets underway. By the way, you again betrayed Lucas because he wanted the CBS music coming back there, I believe.
No, we knocked it out. Oh, the madness right here on 104.5 The Zone.
All right, you don't have to do that every time. It is going to be interesting to see how this goes specifically for Tennessee because we all have, I think, pretty high expectations, if not hopes, that this team is going to be able to at least make it back to where last year's Vols team did, which is an Elite Eight appearance. Now, the path there is not going to be easy, and this is not necessarily an easy bracket for anybody involved. Tennessee is a 2 seed in the Midwest, and they will start today with the mighty Wofford Terriers. The potential for upset is low, though just ask Auburn about what it is to be upset by an unexpected opponent just last year. They're looking to both rebound from their poor finish to the end of the season and also how early they were bounced out of the tournament. Wasn't it Yale that got them?
Sure was last year in Yale.
Bulldogs are going against Terriers. Is there a theme?
Yale is a popular upset pick against A&M as well.
So let's start with Tennessee. If they're going to get to the Elite Eight, they are going to have to get through a bracket that has Houston, Clemson, Illinois, and Kentucky. Now, obviously, there's more teams in the Midwest region than just those teams that I've named, but Tennessee lost to Kentucky twice this year. It's a different Kentucky team that they're going to play because of the injuries. They outlasted Illinois earlier in the season, arguably one of the best wins that they had this season prior to the SEC tournament, with that Jordan Gainey coast-to-coast layup that ended up sealing a win that came down to the wire and frankly could have gone either way. And then there's Houston, who has not obviously yet played Tennessee, but is the number 1 seed in this bracket. Kelvin Sampson's team is viable and arguably is the place where I think that Tennessee's season is going to end if they were to meet Houston in this bracket. Clemson is one of the best teams in the ACC. It's a down year for the ACC. I would have greater fear of Louisville than I would of Clemson this year, and I would have greater fear, obviously, of Duke, even without all of their pieces and parts, which, by the way, they expect to have for the NCAA tournament.
Clemson, a popular upset loss as well. A lot of people are loving McNeese State as a 12-5 upset. Will Wade, by the way, did you see that news?
I did. He's going to be a head coach again. Where is he going?
NC State.
I did not see that.
Yes, that has been reported. NC State is hiring him. He obviously will finish out the tournament, but I don't know. Does that change the minds of anybody picking McNeese State to knock off Clemson, who, by the way, was the only team in the ACC to beat Duke this past regular season?
It probably will have some last-minute effects, especially for people who are just now hearing that on the radio and going to scribble out something in their bracket. Right, you have 40 or you have 35 minutes to get this right. Bert, do you have any strong feelings about NC State since you famously hate and actively prey on North Carolina's downfall?
Don't hate NC State. Dave Doran is kind of a prickly pear when it comes to a coach, but I really liked Kevin Keats. He came from Wilmington. He was an in-state coach, in-state hire. I think he just got a bad draw. When you're going against Carolina and Duke, the comparisons can get the better of you, which is unfortunately what I think is inevitably going to happen to Steve Forbes if he doesn't break through and make a tournament. It's just a tough state to be a good basketball coach in when expectations around you are so high. So don't hate the Will Wade hiring, but I also really liked Kevin Keats. I thought he got a lot out of his players, but Will Wade, hopefully he can turn the Wolfpack's fortunes around.
I'm going to be very upset if Darian DeVries isn't as good as Will Wade. as a basketball coach.
You weren't even sure how to say his name at the beginning of the show.
DeVries? I know it now
DeVry,
because, again,
like the university.
I don't think it's DeVry.
It's Devin DeVry.
I have no idea what it is.
I don't think
Yeah, me either, dude. Like, it's not my basketball coach.
I brought this up in the first segment. You see, he basically copped to tampering or being tampered with as West Virginia's season comes to a less than ideal end. I think a lot of people felt snubbed, especially by the North Carolina situation. West Virginia's governor taking to the podium to call it a massive miscarriage of injustice or something like that. That West Virginia was left out of this year's bracket in favor of a team like North Carolina. Indiana also one of those teams, but he got to the podium yesterday at his introductory press conference and said that they had contact throughout the course of the regular season and that Indiana was very respectful, so it was to not disrupt things with West Virginia's season, which of course sent West Virginia fans into a spiral on the internet. Anyway, what is the latest point? What's the furthest that you have Tennessee making it in your bracket?
I have them falling to Houston in the Elite Eight. Even though I think that's the best matchup for Tennessee as far as the one seeds are concerned. And I mentioned Tennessee fans feel like they're due for a Final Four. I feel like Kelvin Sampson is due a national championship game appearance or a national championship as a whole. And I don't know why I have this feeling that as much as we're talking about the SEC and 14 teams and the greatest season by any conference in the history of college basketball, why do I just feel like it's going to be the best team from the Big Ten or the Big 12 to win the national championship? Got to turn your mic on to talk. Michigan State is the question that the audience did not hear of who is the best team in the Big Ten.
You did that on purpose. That's not funny.
He's glowing back there.
He is riding such a heater because he got so much praise thrust upon him this morning.
Ricky on the FNM Bank chat says that would be such a boring game, and it would. Michigan State, Houston, a good old-fashioned rock fight to decide the national championship. But I just have this gut feeling that that's what it's going to come down to, which probably means it's not going to happen. But Michigan State won the regular season in the Big Ten, were upset by Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament, and Wisconsin lost to Michigan in the Big Ten championship game.
Somebody said on the YouTube comments the score would be 35 to 40.
Yeah, they asked you to, when you make your final pick on the ESPN bracket, the tiebreaker is the point total from the championship game, and I have it at like 120 or
under
something.
80. So I also have Tennessee advancing to the Elite Eight and no further because I believe Houston is a better team. But let's take the conversation. Well, actually, Bert, where do you have Tennessee going in your bracket?
I don't feel like I need to tell where my bracket goes. I don't want anybody to copy me, but I will say that I am 100%. I have no losses on my bracket so far.
Did you fill out the bracket with basketball teams?
Yes.
Or did you fill out the bracket with Pokemon?
It is filled out with, I filled it out. When did the first game start?
At 11:15 today.
No, earlier. We had 11 seeds playing with Carolina. When did those games happen?
2 nights ago.
Okay, I filled my bracket out one night ago. So I am 100% in my bracket fill out.
Okay.
And I'll fill the rest of the games out that happen tonight tomorrow.
All right. Let me ask you this. Don't laugh at him. It only makes it worse.
What, do you need to take a break?
Yeah, I feel like we need a reset.
You want to take a break? Yeah, let's take a break. I needed that.
And we're back.
Collusion. I do not appreciate that. I also don't like this music behind my voice because it makes me sound 10 times more pretentious than I already am.
Glad that hit home.
Really striking a chord here this morning. How often is that going to happen? I don't like that I don't see those coming. I liked that the odds were in my favor in this Hunger Games environment that we've set up around here. Because for a while, half of the board was populated with Lucas saying things like Dixie.
Enormous.
Thank you. Or I'm an idiot, and I was wrong, and that delighted me.
We made a handful of them. They're not all you. I have some dumb things. Lucas has some dumb things. It's not all about you.
Accountability. I'm sure that the two of you were held to the same standard that I am. I'm not looking forward to that being a part of the show moving forward. Either way, the Vols, this year versus last year's team. Last year's team had a more consistently reliable, excellent offensive score. This year's team, I think, is more balanced when it comes to that approach. And I think down the stretch, they made it a fight against Florida, even though they got beat. They got soundly beat by a better team. They got out-rebounded. They got outscored. They got out-physical to an extent, though I don't ever count Tennessee out because those dudes were just fouling out at the end of the game because they're going to make it a fight. That's just the way that Rick Barnes coached teams operate. Is this version of Tennessee better than last year's version?
Man, it's such an interesting question.
Because I was thinking about that this morning driving in.
It's the results have been similar, right? Like the win totals have been similar. Tennessee was a 2 seed last year in the tournament. They're a 2 seed this year in the tournament. Obviously, Tennessee won the SEC regular season title last year, that being the biggest difference. They did have hardware from at least the regular season. I want to say that last year's team had a higher ceiling strictly because of Dalton Connect. But I feel like this year's team is more well-rounded. I feel like this year's team is better in the areas where they struggled last year. And that's not to say that they're elite, right? In the post, on the boards, on the offensive glass. Tennessee has, quite frankly, gotten punked on the offensive glass a couple of times this year against Texas A&M, a game that they escaped with a big road win back in late February. Texas A&M, as we know, is the best offensive rebounding team in the country. You can forgive them for that. But they were dominated in the paint and on the glass by Florida in the SEC championship game. However, I do feel like this Tennessee team is better equipped to match up with someone whose strength is in and around the basket than last year's team was. Felix Okpara, to me, is better equipped to defend down low than Jonas Adu was last year. And we talked about Igor Milicic Jr. Tennessee needs something from him. That was the person Bob Kessling mentioned yesterday when we asked him about an X factor, maybe Jordan Gainey, who's been a great spark off the bench. Certainly would love for him to continue to break out in the national eye this tournament. But Igor Milicic, man, just kind of trying to dig up he was putting up 15 points per game in that stretch where Tennessee was knocking off Missouri, where they fell short against Kentucky, but he was phenomenal. He was great in both Kentucky games, honestly. And he has struggled as of late. He's gotten in early foul trouble. He has 3 rebounds in the last 2 games combined from the SEC tournament, 11 points in those 2 games combined. So he has to be a part of it if Tennessee is going to be able to kind of equalize that weakness that they had last year, which we saw on full display when Zach Edey is taking it to, they had to bench Jonas Adu in that game and throw J.P. Estrella in for just a prayer at defending Zach Edey. And Edey is a specimen, right? A very unique individual, but
creature.
All that to say, I think this team is more well-rounded than that team, and I think this team got a better draw in their bracket than that team did.
I definitely agree with the latter because what you're saying about offensive ceiling or having a higher ceiling as a basketball team, because Dalton Connect had that superstar element, superstar college player element to it. The thing that also stands out to me about that Purdue loss is who they didn't have. They didn't have Zakai Ziegler.
Yeah, they did.
Wasn't he dealing with an injury?
Ziegler tore his ACL 2 years ago. Ziegler did not miss the Purdue game.
Did he play in the Purdue game? Am I looking at the wrong thing again?
Maybe I'm crazy, but Zakai Ziegler tore his ACL late in the regular season 2 years ago against Arkansas in a regular season game. We were at the Combine. I was watching that game in my hotel room in Indianapolis.
I thought we were going to have to hold you. Yeah, no, that's on me.
And Tennessee was able to make a Sweet 16 run out of that year without Zakai Ziegler. They lost to FAU in the Sweet 16 that season.
No, I was looking at the wrong box score. Tennessee did not have another player that was in double digits outside of Connect, though.
Right. No, Connect went for 37 in that game. Zakai scored 9 points in 39 minutes. He was Tennessee's second lead scorer. 37 points. Connect had 37.
I mean, he was so good. He had, 18 in the first half?
And it was the same story for Purdue. I mean, Zach Edey had 40 and 16 in that game. So, yes, no, Tennessee, and Zakai Ziegler has to drive them, obviously, in this tournament.
And that's what they're going to be leaning on. They've been leaning on his leadership and Jemai Mashak's leadership, and obviously Rick Barnes has a huge presence in all of this, and what they can get from guys like Chaz Lanier or Jordan Gainey, or we talked about, as Bob Kessling brought up yesterday, Igor Milicic as a reluctant offensive player who can really make a difference here. That's a tough thing to do in the tournament, though. I mean, that's where some of the best stories come from. When you get a player that kind of emerges out of nowhere and makes a name for himself in the tournament, somebody who's clearly skilled if they're playing, Power 4 Division I college basketball. Can Tennessee have one of those stories? The talent is there. The question is, are they going to be able to cut it loose? The offensive ceiling is a concern, especially when you're talking about teams, especially a team that you just went up against in Florida that can turn it on and has scores at will, and arguably the best point guard in the country who's playing like 12 to 13 minutes a game. It's crazy.
Brandon on the FNM Bank chat says, metric-wise, this team is much more efficient than last year's team, but the depth is a big problem. JP Estrella getting hurt before the season and Cam Carr transferring during the season were daggers for the depth. That will be the downfall, he says.
How about this as a shot, Bert? Jack Shepard on YouTube. Vols are the Baltimore Ravens of March Madness. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Did you take offense?
No. It was his team. When's the last time they won a Super Bowl?
Yeah, unfortunately for Jack, that is, and unfortunately for the Vols, that is not factual. Ravens have been the bride.
Twice.
On a couple occasions.
Yeah, twice. You can get married twice. It's like, what's that commercial? Big Lou.
Yeah,
Big Lou's on number 2.
Most people do.
He's just like you, except he's on number 2. That's,
God, if Cheyenne leaves me, I'm quitting this job and going to live in the wilderness somewhere. I swear to God.
She should, after all that gambling money she won.
I was worried.
What's she still doing with your tired ass?
I was worried that she was going to ship me off and find a rich man at the casino. There was a dude that came around with a hover round. He had like a little speaker in his basket. I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy.
No, the dude with a hover round at a casino?
You know how much hover rounds cost? If he didn't have insurance and he paid out of pocket, that was a pretty penny scooter he had running.
You have to have insurance for those things?
It helps.
Don't they catch on fire in your garage?
What?
If you plug them in?
Don't say that. I do. I would love, wait till I'm an old man. I'm going to be.
Reckless speculation.
Remember when they used to be commercials to be like, you could go anywhere, even the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Like that. I want to be that old man at the Grand Canyon. In a hover round.
Last segment of the show. That went fast. We'll continue to preview March Madness coming up next. Will I have enough money when I retire? When should I draw from Social Security? If these questions keep you up at night, let me introduce you to a team that's there to keep you on the right track and guide you through it. That's Trajan Wealth. Trajan Wealth, not just any financial firm. They are your partners in securing your financial future. And they're more than just a fiduciary firm. They're a family-owned, veteran-led team that puts your needs first. Let their decades of experience specializing in retirement planning and wealth management work for you. Trajan Wealth offers free consultations to help you develop your plan and your peace of mind. So call them today at 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
Final minutes in the boys 3A quarterfinal at the Murphy Center, and Upperman is pulling away. Good morning, I'm Lucas Panzica. 47-27. Now the lead for Upperman over Hume Fogg. If they can hang on, they will move on to the Final Four in the boys 3A bracket to face the winner between Greenville and Munford. Tip-off for that game set for 11 o'clock. Drunk driving is the ultimate form of unsportsmanlike conduct. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security. As we remind you to tune in to 104.5 The Zone all day for the Hoops Madness coverage, sponsored by Shoney's. At Shoney's, find all your favorite things and more. Head in today for a delicious meal at one Shoney's Middle Tennessee location in Clarksville, Dixon, Lebanon, and on Donaldson Pike in Nashville.
Last call for phone calls. Short show today, short show tomorrow because basketball for the rest of the day. Westwood One's coverage of the 2025 NCAA tournament gets underway. We're excited about it. So, should we go through our Final Fours? Or do we want to do upsets first and then tell people our Final Fours?
Well, the trendy ones so far, people are loving. Everybody loves the 12-5s, right?
Yep.
Happens every year. UC San Diego over Michigan.
I have that one.
15 straight wins for UC San Diego. Clash of styles. Michigan, a low-scoring team. UC San Diego is going to just rain down threes. And I've got Lipscomb knocking off Iowa State. Shout out to the Bisons.
Okay.
Just a homer
Just
pick.
for fun.
Yeah. 14 seed Lipscomb over 3 seed Iowa State, who is without their best player.
That would make me happy since their coach turned me down
What do you mean?
to be Indiana's coach.
Oh, Iowa State's coach. Yes. So go Bisons. Hope they can get it done in the South region.
Yeah, there are a couple of popular upset picks here, and it's an interesting bracket. I think that, to your point about McNeese State and Clemson, that's another popular, or was, up until Will Wade got a new job, a popular pick for a 12-5 upset. High Point and Purdue is an interesting one. I don't think that Purdue would slump that badly. Matt Painter is an excellent coach, despite my best efforts. It's like, I like Matt Painter. I like Mark Pope. It bothers me deeply that I like two of my program's greatest rivals in college basketball, their coaches. But that would be an interesting one that I wouldn't push back on so much. And then, you get into the 7-10s, which are less fun upsets. Utah State over UCLA is one that I've seen a lot. That would make Tennessee's next opponent Utah State, which, of course, we can talk about tomorrow, depending on how this afternoon's or this evening's game goes. And then Vandy. A lot of people are interested in Vandy, even though they did not finish the season strong. 3 straight losses?
Yeah.
So my Final Four is pretty much chalk. It's Duke, Houston, Florida, but I have Louisville. In the Final Four as an 8 seed. Now, I think it's stupid that they're an 8 seed.
It is, yes.
They are very underseeded there.
Top 10 team.
I don't trust Auburn. I have them with the upset.
I weirdly don't either, but I have them losing to Michigan State.
So I don't know if something's off about Janai Broom's situation here in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if he's playing through an injury. He doesn't make his free throws, which bothers me.
Yeah, Auburn struggled with that at Bridgestone.
So I'm going to take Louisville over Auburn as a second-round upset.
I don't hate it. I have Auburn winning that game, but I really don't hate it. And we know they're going to have the backing of the fan base. A tough draw for Auburn to potentially play Louisville in Lexington, 45-minute drive for the fans of the Cards who are hungry, as we said, underseeded. I don't hate it either. Again, Auburn lost 3 of their last 4 after their insane run. 16 quad 1 wins? Something
really
ridiculous.
Hard to do what they did this year.
100%. No national champion has ever won the national title, having lost 3 of the last 4 games before the NCAA tournament. So maybe Auburn can be the first. The question here is, how many teams does the SEC need to get into the Final Four for it to be a banner season for the SEC?
Oh, I think 1.
At least.
As long as they're represented, I think it's still a win.
Fair enough.
I have Houston and Florida in the final, and I have Florida winning.
Florida, everybody loves Florida. They seem to be the most common national championship pick.
I just, I got to a point where it was Houston and Florida, and I'm just looking at the two of them stylistically and saying, Houston can try and drag them into the muck if they want to, but I just think that Florida has too many options. So in a matchup, if those were my 2, then I would pick Florida. I was tempted to go St. John's over Florida, but I think that's just because, for some reason, I'm enjoying the Rick Pitino redemption tour. It's not like, I don't know, he's not like Rick Pitino is not somebody that you root for necessarily, but I love that he wins everywhere that he goes. And I kind of love, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know what impact it had on his team, but him basically looking around at his roster and being like, you guys suck. And then
and they've been going on since then.
To basically shuffling a bunch of pieces and parts on the roster and then going on a run. I love that.
They've been one of the best teams in the country since then.
So tough to argue with the results there, but Florida's just really good. They're just playing really, really high-level basketball. Now, that's probably recency bias because, Tennessee beat them by 20 earlier in the season, but that was after Florida beat them by 30.
Oh, man, I really want that Pitino-Cal matchup in the second round, but I don't think Arkansas is going to get it done against Kansas.
I did pick them just because I want that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to manifest.
Ricky says, Auburn just needs to get through these first 2 games, then they'll have essentially 2 home games in Atlanta to get to the Final Four. It's a good point by Ricky. Auburn will have backing if they can survive Louisville and Lexington if that's the matchup.
I do have a prediction for you guys that I think is going to come true. The SEC will set the record for most teams eliminated from March Madness.
That is a fact.
In history.
Yeah.
In all of the madness.
What is that record, though, actually?
I don't know. I would assume if they had the most teams ever make the tournament,
you're
that
right.
they would also
At
have
some
the
point,
most
even if
teams
they get
Playing the
eliminated.
percentages.
Yes, even if all four get to the Final Four, at some point there will be at least 13 SEC
Get this,
teams
guys,
eliminated.
every team is 500 in conference.
It's better than that. It's better
We
than
really
that.
banged that drum, the 500 in conference play thing.
People kept doing it.
Multiple people
That's not
kept doing
our
it.
fault.
Yeah.
It's everybody else's fault.
We do have some March Madness polls,
Special polls? Or just
special polls.
themed polls? It would have been fucking great if you busted out a one shining moment poll open.
Polls presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Who is your favorite 12/5 upset pick? Most of the votes going to UC San Diego over Michigan, 28.9%. I lied. Most of the votes going to Colorado State over Memphis, 31%. 23% say McNeese over Clemson, 17% say Liberty over Oregon. Memphis, a good team. Feel like they can make a run this year. Colorado State, also red hot. How many SEC teams will make the Final Four? 49.7% say 2. 24.5% say only 1. 15.7% say 3 to 4. 10% say 0.
People started drinking early before
Most
they voted
votes
on the
say
polls.
2.
Okay, that's reasonable.
And who is your national champion? Cricket says Carolina making a run. Do you think Carolina wins?
Stop. Do they win in the first round?
Yeah. They have Ole Miss.
No.
Ole Miss, RJ Davis would have to have one hell of a performance.
He did in the first round, and they beat their playing opponent soundly, but Ole Miss is a better basketball team. North Carolina hasn't been good all year long.
Eric says his realistic pick is Florida. His biased pick is Tennessee. Hurley Bird on Twitter says St. John's. Leonidas says either Duke or St. John's. Karen says it is Florida, her national. I think that's the most common national championship pick.
I wonder how much that changed just because Cooper Flag got hurt.
I was going to say, the Cooper Flag thing, it's so hard to read how much of an effect that'll have on Duke in the tournament.
Yeah, but you cannot blindly trust Duke without knowing. I mean, is he going to be 100%?
Yeah.
They're saying that he is, but
no way he is, right? There's no way. With an ankle sprain less than a week ago.
it would shock me, but they're saying that he's going to be ready and available, and however they get him there medically is of their own jurisdiction.
And name a 2-day stretch in sports better than the first round of March Madness. A lot of comments about Saturday and Sunday of the Masters. Love Masters weekend. I don't think it holds a candle to these next 2 days.
Masters weekend during college, just because you sit around with your buddies and make a party out of it or something. Like some people still do Masters parties, but March Madness is
the insanity, the channel flipping, the bullets flying, the upsets, nothing compares.
bullets flying. Relax. All right.
Those are the polls.
Very good. That's the show for the day. We will do it again for an hour tomorrow. Have a great rest of your afternoon. March Madness, Westwood One's coverage of the NCAA tournament is coming next.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
We've got the trucks, all the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford.